practitioner, and of course the senior pastor of Faith Pillars Gospel Center, in the person of Dr. Patrick Awosagi. Thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure.
Let's look at what could be seen as unfair by some on the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He has been on the front line, making speeches and assuring Nigerians of his administration to bring respite in all of the direction of the citizenry. But don't you think that enough time is needed for the administration to really hit the ground running, bringing about achievement in its policies that he is earmarking upon, rather than having the labor unions, truncating this effort of the president just now?
Well, like I said, it's all about coming together. We've always had labor union coming together, agitating over what is biting hard on the people. People will always have things to complain about. I'm not against the labor union. Treat them as dignified citizens of this country. Don't treat them like, oh, they don't have anything to offer, or maybe they're just there for what they're going to get, or what are they doing it for.
Is that not why they're always brought to the round table to discuss issues?
I know that round table. I disagree. I disagree to an extent. It's possible. But the main reason why we say we're agitating, okay, if you have done what is right, nobody will go out there to agitate. If they are saying, you're doing trying, you're doing the best you could. No labor leader will, instruct his followers, as it were, okay, come on, let's go on strike. If the government of the day is attending to the yearnings of the people, I don't think so. Now, if that is the case, it is also pertinent that the president could call them, let's have this conversation, let's talk. They've had this talk back and forth, we'll do this and that. I think that's how it should go. Okay. And then we'll keep on going on with the other structures. But when you say, we won't negotiate with you, no going back on this. Okay, like you say, subsidy was gone, and we can say the petrol pump price is on the high, and people are complaining their income have not shot up, as it were. And the prices keep wearing new look every day. You get that? So what do you expect today?
As yesterday, you have a particular price, then today you have another new price.
New price.
But the challenge here I have is that the prices, they never go down. They're always climbing up.
That's it. That's a challenge. And this is a good ground for the labor leaders to say, no, we cannot continue like this. We cannot continue like this because people are dying, people are hungry.
Or it's a good ground for the labor unions to give time to the administration. Looking at the challenge we have in the fall of the Naira, that is falling rapidly.
Yes.
That could also be the reason for the price hike in the petrol prices that we're having just now. Yes. And so isn't there need to give it some time for the government to work on the economy strong?
I agree with you. But it's the way I approach you. It's your response that determines whether you're ready to listen to me. If I come to your house and say, I want to see you, and you not say, well, I don't want to see you, or I will call you when I need you. And I say, well, I didn't come to your house to ask for you to call me when you need me. There's an issue. And you say, no. Security, send him out. And then I go on the street. I've waited, tried to call you on phone, call whoever. Then what do you expect me to do? Because what I need to discuss with you, it doesn't bother on whether you're going to see me. You don't control the time. You don't tell me when. It's something that both of us should sit and address.
So you are saying that the union has been pushed to its limit?
Absolutely. That's why I say strike is their last resort.
Okay, but let's look at compliance.
Yes.
Because it's one thing for them to say that nationwide strike. It's another for the members to really comply. Because just before you came, we were making a check on how Abuja look is like, in terms of the strike. And we have reports that, well, as at that time this morning, as early as 7, there were no blockades. There was nothing to show that there's going to be a protest or strike action in Abuja. And I believe while you were coming this morning, you didn't see any sign to show that there is any strike action today.
And that's very dangerous.
Again, don't you think the members of the unions seem to have lost faith in the leadership of the unions, more especially in the back, all of these issues concerning tackling the issues of the members of the union, that sometimes, they play to the gallery and they seem not to be serious. Before you know it, they are calling off the strike action. Before you know it, they are holding a meeting with the leadership of the federal government. All of this, don't you think this could make the people lose confidence in the leadership of the unions?
If they do, but that's not, they are already there. The labor leaders, the unions, they are there to guide and to help strengthen. If you say, well, you don't need them, then they can as well. No, we've done our part. Tomorrow you won't come back to say, well, oh, we had leaders that didn't respond, that didn't do anything. They say, well, we actually attempted to. You people did not comply. They don't have the capacity to ensure everybody comply. And again, you know what's obtainable. Every structure of government, they pay them, so they can always say, if you don't come to work, we've seen that over and again amongst some lecturers are still fighting for their salaries. They say, well, because you went on strike, we can't pay you. And they are fighting that in court.
Implementing the no work, no pay rule.
No work, no pay rule. All those acts. So many of them, they have children and they have medical bills to pay, and they don't know, if I stay back at home, how will I get money? So I have to obey. I have to take care of my health first. I have to be alive.
So that could affect the nationwide
with
strike.
the crunch. You know, you're getting some little stipends now. You should hold on to it.
Just like they have bread is better than none.
I'm telling you, that's just the situation. So they don't have the effrontery now. Because for you to go all out and say, well, we're going to shut down. What are you shutting down? You don't have money, so you have to go.
So by this, are you saying that the fight is losing its steam?
Absolutely, and it's dangerous. In as much as I'm laughing, I'm not thinking it's a good one. Because it's obvious that the workers don't have a voice. So you can't say anything. They're not like a master-slave relationship, and that's not what it should be.
When you say it's obvious that the workers don't have a voice.
They don't have a voice, like what they just established. You and I agree that, oh yes, we smiled and laughed over it. I say it's a very dangerous part.
But isn't this the voice that they are trying to bring up at the national level, where they are still getting ready to make sure that they marshal out plans to embark on the nationwide strike?
You just said
because just like yesterday, minds were thinking that probably they will call off the strike. Maybe before midnight, they will call off the strike. But it was shocking when it was seen that they were still adamant in spite of the subsisting order by the National Industrial Court. So don't you think this could be a turnaround for the labor unions to get back to business and be ready to slug it out with the federal government?
Like I said,
no matter whose ox is God, in order to make sure that demands are met?
Wars or fights, you don't win a fight when you don't have funds, you don't have weapons.
Okay.
You know, we could see war around the world now. Why the parties that are winning, or the side that is winning, why are they winning? Because they have the funds, they have the weapons. So it's the same thing. Like I just said, somebody who has medication, is on medication and he gets a salary and is being supported by children or friends and loved ones. The little stipends you are getting, and the average person here is saddled with so much. Even not, I'm just using that as an instance. I'm talking about you have children, you have things to take care of, you have your rents, you have your fueling of vehicle.
Basic needs.
Basic needs, you need to go on the road, you need to join the bus, and the possibility of you coming back with the same price that took you out is not there, and you know your salary didn't increase.
No.
And somebody is saying, go home, let's fight, let's be on the streets. Who takes care of my children? Your children don't know about the striking or the trouble that is in the country. They wake up, they want to eat. And they wake up, their teachers or the owners of schools are calling you to come and pay school fees. And you need to pay, or you need to take care. They are not feeling fine. You won't say because government, you are fighting, we must fight to finish. You can't be fighting to finish when your children are sick or when you yourself are medically challenged. So these are the issues. So I think they have so weaponized poverty. I think that's a strategy. Weaponization of poverty around. Because you can see, those are even working, they are just getting by. And that's the challenge. So you can't even say anything, you just keep quiet and talk a little and then go back. That's what you're saying, that's what's manifesting now.
Okay.
Because poverty has gotten to its peak.
Yes, some have also said that, well, at the level of the brutalization of the NLC president could give the impetus and the all attention that the leadership of the NLC and the TUC are really doing to make sure that the federal government meet their demands. If there was no brutality, this would not have happened. What do you think?
Well, it's a two-way thing. It's possible and it may not be. It's not just about being brutalized, as it were. It wasn't the president that ordered his him being brutalized, as it were, and nobody have said we did. And the good thing is that everybody is denying. But we are still investigating.
The good thing or the bad thing?
When I mean the good thing, when you should know the way I'm using my words.
Okay.
I don't want to say the bad thing.
Yeah. It's on the flip side.
It's ironical. You know, the way it is now is that everybody is saying we don't know what happened. But we agree that the man was beaten up. And when even the enforcement agency, we took him on protective custody. And I wonder who did. You were taking him on protective custody, and who did? And you didn't arrest anybody. And nobody have been charged to court for attempted murder or, you know, battery or assault of sort. You know, nobody. And then you were the one that it was last found. And you think the law will smile at that for you? Ever to, you know, it doesn't make any sense.
Okay.
What I'm saying here is, I think the way it should go, the government should listen and not just talk about the problem. I don't believe in this problem analysis. You didn't say that when you were contesting. A leader is to solve problems. That's what you are there for. So now you are dishing it out, telling everybody why you cannot move on. It suggests you don't know what you want to do. And then the best thing to do, although it's not common here, resign and leave the office. Maybe at the time people keep resigning and they will find somebody one day that say, well, this is the way we should go. I think that's just what is going on. Don't sit down there and tell me that things are not working and people are complaining. You say, well, like you have said, okay, don't you think we should give more time? Yes, I do. We should give more time, but how? But you should give us a blueprint. There should be, okay, phase one. Okay, this is what I want to address now. What is being addressed? Before people start believing you that you're going to do something, let's see some of the things you started with. You've posted this, you printed that. Okay, what are they doing? What sector is working? Is it electricity or something? What is working now? Yeah, I know a lot of things. We are hitting the ground. Hit the ground. The ground is being heated. But are we getting inklings of lights, a ray of lights of that there are things that will come up in the near future? Okay. And I think that's basically what the people are looking at.
You made mention of investigation. And my mind just has been on top of this issue where we have some challenge, or we are at sea. And who's going to investigate this? Because ideally, it's the police that investigates.
Absolutely. That's what I just said.
But in a situation where there are pointed fingers on the police that took into protective custody the NLC president, and after that, the NLC president was unveiled, brutalized, and then we hear stories about suspected thugs, you know, and all of this. How do we see a thorough investigation that will not be seen as biased?
No, it's there. The police see. It's not as if they don't know what happened.
Oh.
That's not correct.
Or who did it?
They know what happened. They have it there. He's coming out to say that's the issue. Because somebody said you can't do that. We remember the Delegiwa and how he was being killed. All those things are in the report. But who came out openly to say this is what transpired? Nobody's going to do that.
Do you say that their tongues are tied?
Obviously, they are.
Politically?
Absolutely. No, when you say politically, when I say politically or how you put it, I feel there's a system that is not adding up. There are things that are not working well around here. You know, there's no freedom of speech. You know, in the army of Uganda made it very funny way. He said there's freedom of speech in Uganda. But I cannot guarantee your freedom after you have spoken, so you can get that.
There's a limit to freedom.
To freedom, I agree. But when you now
come on, reckless freedom can bring about chaos.
My dear colleague Dele Farotimi, you know, in his book, he said, "Don't go look choose a war you fight and dying." Now he says something. You cannot. He said in a system where talking about crime becomes a crime itself, we're trying to investigate or try to talk about the wrong acts. You become the person that is doing the wrong stuff. And that brings me to Fidel Castro. Is it to be moral in an immoral society? It's immoral. That's the challenge. Now, the system, you have a system that is not working well. And you want perfection to come from there. It doesn't add up that way. Okay, now.
You can't give what you don't have.
You can't give what you don't have. And now, they went to industrial court, national industrial court. What I challenge them to bring to us, what was fired? If you want to go, you go there. You will see a lot of coloration were presented before court, is that not misleading the court?
Well, I think we'll be assuming.
Well, we say assuming.
We don't have the copies. We don't have the copies.
If you want me to get the copies.
You are a lawyer, just like you always say that.
Yes, we must speak from
yes,
what I'm saying.
From an evidence point of view.
What I'm saying. I know how these things work. I'm telling you for free. We can get it. Let's check through. What did you fight to court? What did you tell court about this whole transaction? That's what we should be looking at. But nobody talk about that. Because we don't see, because if that must come before equity must come with clean hands. If what you have said, if you have twisted anything in the course of filing, then something is wrong. Maybe like the man now that saying that suspected hoodlums. Just imagine that.
Okay. But do you agree that government cannot always meet the demands of the unions? Like you said earlier, there must be a compromise.
Yes, I agree.
Now, how much of compromise is expected from the labor unions and also from the government?
We don't know now. The demands, like in the Imo State now.
Of course. That we can't take away. The 11,000 reported workers that are seen as ghost workers, and the 10,000 retirees that are seen as as ghost retirees.
So just take that out.
I think that figure should be put on the table.
That is
and
it.
Marshaled out.
Before you embark on, stopping their payments, what did you do? What did you do? Let's know. Because these people are alive. A lot of them are talking. So why are you not calling us ghost workers? Did you remove us from the database of the system? How do we know who is a ghost worker?
But don't you agree that there must be some proportion that
I agree very well.
verifiable?
I made a statement, a principle in criminal prosecution. If someone, you need to know, what we're looking at now is that if we have a handful that will be unjustly stopped from paying.
Majority
may have, then hold on. You are the governor, you are the government. If you have paid someone, you still have the capacity to arrest them and prosecute them adequately.
Okay, where does the federal government come in?
Now, the economy crunch, the way things are going. Yes, Nigerians are complaining.
How do you expect the federal government to assuage the feelings of the unions?
Then they can call them and say, well, show them. This is how we are going. You can check. Personally, I don't really see it as a federal government problem.
Okay.
I don't see it that way. I just say maybe because it's national. That's why by implication they are trying to. In my opinion, I would not absolutely wish the federal government away.
Okay, but the federal government, basically, because the federal government should be involved in this.
Yes.
Because looking at the decorum that they could be getting from the federal level, could be the reason why they said, okay, we want to go on a nationwide strike. Let's get the attention of the federal government.
Exactly.
Let the federal government start talking over the brutality of the NLC president.
But that's not how to go about it.
An injury
again.
They say is an injury to all. And aluta continua, that's exactly
yes,
what
exactly.
So how do we tackle it from the federal government perspective?
From that, on that note,
yes.
I don't think they are right. If that is how they are approaching it, no. If you don't make a national issue out of a local matter, maybe from that end.
When the state is not listening, it then gives room for the people to cry to the federal government,
to
meddle into the affairs, to make sure that they make the state bow to pressure to listen to their demands. So,
yes, I agree with you.
So that is not out of it.
I agree with you. I agree with you. But my thought is this. If you are saying you are bringing in the federal government, and it seems as if the federal government is not, the body language is not, it's a good ground that, maybe they are extension of what you are the one that instructed them to act in this capacity.
Because the police is under the federal government.
I agree with you.
We don't have state police in here, do we?
We don't have state police. So my thought is this. The federal government cannot excuse themselves from what is going on. So that's basically the reason. But what I was trying to say is that in terms of maybe because they are not doing well, it's a new government now, and you've not been doing, we were trying to get by. Yes, we know there are a lot of stuff, like I said, but you should tell us what are your plans. You've said this over and again. How are we going to get there? Look at what's going on.
Most
There are
especially
palliative
as it
measures.
pertains to non-implementation of the 30,000 naira minimum wage. I really was taken aback when I noticed that even some states are yet to implement it stricto sensu.
Yes.
The 30,000 naira minimum wage. Shouldn't that really bring a whole attention of the federal government on the state?
It should. That's why I said it should. Because it's like the people, like I said, they are now a captured people. They are not seen as citizens anymore. That's where we are sliding into. Because the moment, if this strike does not sail through and there's no proper negotiation, forget it. You may not have another strike in that light. Maybe some other time. Not
It depends on the compliance level.
That's what I'm saying.
Because we're going to be hitting the news shortly, and it's going to surprise you that
a lot of
a lot of offices are thrown open, and there are no closed doors. You know, so
because
that brings us to the trust that the members have on the unions.
It has nothing to do with. I don't think that's basically what. Yes, the members. You will say the members don't trust the union. I don't think that's it.
To go back to their offices, I mean.
Why they are going back to their offices, like I just told you.
Okay, like you said, about the not to be caught
how do you even,
in the crunch of the economy.
How do you even get money to transport yourself to where they are going to converge? You should understand the situation. I'm talking of people working. Unlike those days, those working were able to get by, could support. You can't support yourself now as an individual. It's difficult for you working.
Okay.
Let alone those that are not working. So it's a different ballgame entirely.
Okay, we also have reports where the labor unions also said that ASU should join in the nationwide strike. And even the National Union of Electricity Employees should join. That's going to be catastrophic.
It won't work that way because you can't shut down the entire country because you want to, make some news in that regard. Because if we keep doing this, that's not the way to go. Because at times you may be trying to communicate, even the labor themselves. I will also challenge them. If you have, I think the government of the day now, to an extent, have some kind of listening ear.
As compared to the previous?
Yes, obviously. So why not come up and say, look, present it well. I think at times approach matters. You should be able to approach an office very well.
When you say listening ears, I think you are being careful to restrict the listening ears to that of the labor unions. You're not talking about the petrol fare, the fare subsidy, are you?
No.
You said the administration has listening ears.
Yes, I'm talking about generally.
Because we remember, generally?
Generally.
Well, some may take on you in that aspect because the previous administration,
No, I'm not talking about the previous administration.
No. You said this administration has listening ears.
Yes, I said.
And I'm taking you on
in some ways. In some ways.
And I also asked you, as compared to the previous, and you said yes. So, and now you are now saying generally. Now, if we are to take your minds back to the previous administration and attempts by even previous administrations to remove fuel subsidy and the attention of the workers, the labor unions, to stop the federal government. And then the federal government listened and took back their actions.
Okay.
As compared to this administration. What do you think? Can you also say that it has listening ears?
See, you must understand how these systems work.
Okay.
The so-called subsidy thing has been a huge fraud.
Okay.
And this government is saying no. It's like looking at the situation on ground. We can't keep losing this humongous amount of money.
So for that, the present administration shouldn't listen to the people?
I'm not saying it's listening. Okay, it's not everybody that is saying don't remove it. It's who are those? It's those guys that are perpetrating the acts. Those subsidy mongers. They are the people also telling the people going around.
Okay, but as a way of digression, some have said that instead of removing the petrol subsidy, why don't you tackle the fraud that is in the regime or in the system? Because there is everything that a responsible government should subsidize for its people.
Absolutely.
And some are saying, what is the Nigerian government subsidizing for its people? So if you remove that and you turn a blind eye on the fraud that is going on that made you to remove the fuel subsidy, isn't it a waste of time and a mirage?
I don't see it that way. Because you are not there. You see that seats. You are not there as president, neither am I there. He's there and he's seeing what he's seeing.
Because some have said that the aspect of even the fuel subsidy removal is a sham.
That's what I just said. Okay, if I know very well that we are paying some money and the money is getting into some corners and it's being dispersed somewhere, and somebody is seated, I say, well, where's the money? Say, it's being subsidized, this for subsidy. And remember Lamido, the former central bank governor, he made a lot of talk around this.
Positions.
So why are we still talking this way? So why is it like, oh, things can't work, we can't get by except we subsidize? Now, I don't think the federal government is absolutely wrong. Don't get me wrong. I sympathize with the pain. If you go to the hospital, you will be injected before you get well. So the approach may not be palatable, but I think it's a good move in a good direction in my own thoughts. Because in my opinion, it's funny. You subsidize and you will be subsidizing what we are not seeing. But again, we cannot be talking of we are removing subsidy when you are spending billions to acquire vehicles for government functionaries. Does it make any sense?
Okay.
So these are issues. So we must understand who are those advising the government, the president? Who are those? So many a times we look at a leader and say, this is the person. You have a lot of people within the space, and we are Nigerians. They are going to come up with all manner of strategy to confuse whoever is at the saddle.
Okay, how do we strengthen the labor unions? Because for the very fact that we have a union today, and then the interference of the executive control to bring about a split in the unions, like what we also had in ASU.
We had this several times.
And what happens to the 8-month strike, and how the National Industrial Court story came up, and how they went back to classrooms and they never brought it up again. For now, don't you see a challenge in the labor union trying to strategize to strengthen itself at the face of the federal government? Do you see that the federal government is really posing a risk, to the labor union's strength in agitating their demands?
Like, you see, they would want to. They can't do it alone. And now, maybe I'm not communicating this right, but I'm trying to communicate something.
Yeah.
Now, the point I'm making is this. The leadership of the union, they are some way captured. It's like you have your men under the control of your enemy, so to speak. The workers who pay them.
So you're saying that the government has infiltrated into the union?
Exactly. Okay, imagine some of their subordinates now. You don't know what has gone down. Why will you call? Your leader is calling you, and you're not responding. So some issues have to be checked and really look at, critically. Now, if you look at it, they are not following the leadership, like you said.
The compliance level could be low.
Yes.
Very low.
So what's happening? So that's, and the government seem to be relaxed, not disturbed.
Okay.
Now, when you are not perturbed, it suggests to say...
Let's go to the angle of the judiciary. The National Industrial Court are giving a restraining order. Should it always follow that anytime the government hits the National Industrial Court, what the court does is to bring a restraining order stopping unions from agitating or giving a kind of impression that it supports a party over the other? Should it follow that way?
No, like I said, you must understand. I told you, I made a statement. What is before court? Do you know what's before court?
Does it mean the judiciary is not independent?
That's not the point.
Is it independent?
The judiciary is independent.
No, I'm asking you, is it independent?
It's independent.
Are you serious?
It's independent. But there are certain conditions.
What about the appointment of judges?
The president does that.
Okay, is it really independent?
That you appoint.
Shouldn't it have been done within the ambit of the judiciary?
That's another today's
Don't you think
talk.
that again could also tow the slogan or the lexicon that says that he who pays the piper dictates the tune?
I disagree. That's not what it is. Now, like we had a President Jonathan, he appointed Atahiru Jega, the independent national INEC chairman.
Yeah.
And the man conducted the election that sent him out of the office. So it has nothing to do with whether they are independent. We need men. We need strong men of goodwill, men that of strong character, rather, that can stand. It's not an issue of maybe you have an office. The worst case that could happen to you is to resign. If they want to bring up Trump or allegation against you, if you are innocent, you will go to court and come out free. So basically, I don't see it as, you tell me a judge is not independent to decide. No. What is before the judge? That's what you should look at. So when the National Industrial Court is in a restraining order, do you know what is in the application, the affidavit that was deposed to?
So shouldn't that be looked through by the judges?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay, for instance, if it's before the court that some elements they are trying to turn this into a full-fledged crisis, and information reaching them that they have weapons.
Okay.
And you think a judge will sit hearing that? You say, well, how did he get? There are documents. That's why I said, what was fired?
Okay, could determine the reason.
It's what not cool. That's what will. Because the court don't litigate, they don't rule on nothing.
But shouldn't there have been a way, shouldn't there have been a way to look at the other party?
You know, when you say look,
compare,
there are different ways matters get to court. I'm talking of in the case of an ex-parte
of course, application. Of course. It doesn't really require.
Now, the issue of security, I don't know.
Okay, okay.
It's the government that will tell you what security is. It's the government that tells you the security threat of the country. Will the labor say, oh, this is what it is? Yeah, you are doing your labor, but we'll see some other things happening within the labor space. And if they have evidence before court, how will court not listen to them?
So which means the government has an upper arm?
Oh, absolutely. Abacha said every crisis that lasts between 48 hours, you should ask the government of the day. So the government will always know what is going on and how to go about it. If the government say, oh, this is what, government has all. I can say, well, what we are seeing now, okay, he was taken into protective custody. Take that word. From what? Hoodlums. What are those?
But eventually the, in quote, hoodlums got to him.
No.
Not just him, other leaders too.
Yes.
Other leaders were brutalized.
That's what I'm saying now. Those hoodlums could become threats to society.
Well, they could
trying to ride on the
could also be party faithfuls.
When I mean hoodlum,
suspects anyway.
Whatever they call them. Who is telling us? The police is telling us that.
Okay, you mean to say that the state government should be made to really investigate this properly because it emanated from Imo State, Owerri. Now, the state government should investigate this properly and bring some respite in the ways of the workers.
Yes.
All right, but
yes.
But there seems to be a challenge before the state government.
What's the challenge?
We look at issues where, you know, you were in your government, the union is pointing fingers at some of the operators in your government. So how will the government carry out an investigation that will not be seen as biased? I asked you that earlier, but we are still having this as a challenge.
No, I'm not getting that clear. You said the government in his... I didn't get that.
How do you bring in the state government to tackle this issue of the attack or brutality?
Do you have an option?
On the NLC president.
Do you have an option? What's the option? It's just like I say, okay, I don't like the police and I want to investigate. You, Philip, go and investigate, leave the police. Is that how society runs? That's why it's the government. Okay, but what about if we have from the command from the federal capital to come investigate? Yes. Yes, that's what could be advocated for. They demanded for the removal of the commissioner, which they did. So what else? There are ways you could push this. At times, you really don't need to fight to a great extent for what you are demanding for. My own is this. If you don't have anything against the system, there's some procedure you should follow. And I think they will listen to you. It's not every time. I'm not an advocate of let's go on strike. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not. It shouldn't always be the way out. We can always negotiate. But we always see a situation where the government seems to allow it to always be the way out. That's what I said earlier on. But in terms of waiting for them to take that action. you could also come. You could also come, even if, I know they would want to, I know the way government structure is, they will tell you the governor is busy, he doesn't have time for this, or they will see you in so and so time. Okay. They will go to see you, we'll reach you again. We'll call you when we are ready for you. That may be another tool. Okay,
what's your advice to the stakeholders at the level of the federal government, the state government, and of course the labor unions?
I will, you know, the presidents of the country should not we cannot be wished away. You should call them. Call them, and they also call the Imo state governor and the person of Hope Uzodimma. You know, this man is your townsman and is your, you know, you people should come together. Coming together does not mean we don't have differences. We are seeing it from different, I'm standing on the side of 6 and you are standing on the other side 9. So we should look at it and try to make sense of what is happening so that we don't throw our state and nation into turmoil. Right. I think that is basically what should be done. Because after every crisis, you have to come back to the round table discussion. That's why they say diplomats work before the crisis, and after the crisis, you still go back to diplomatic negotiations. I think that is what...
Thank you very much. I must say that it's been awesome having you on set today on TMI.
Thank you so much.
Well, I've been discussing with Dr. Patrick Awo-Saige, and he is a legal practitioner and the senior pastor of Faith Pillars Gospel Center. And we've been on the NLC TUC strike. It's our hope that the federal government will meet them halfway to make sure that there's a compromise, and all of these issues concerning the strike doesn't really help. It doesn't help the country, neither does it help its people, neither does it help the system. So it's our hope and prayer that all of this will be resolved in the nearest possible time. Well, there's much we can take. Big thanks for being part of today's TMI. We'll do the same time tomorrow, and don't forget, shortly it will be Business Rendezvous with Lawrence Osifo. Happy viewing, and bye for now.